Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John, and today I have a new type of video for you. I will be doing two album reviews in one video. They are two death metal albums. The first one is by the band Sanguisugabogg, and the album is called Tortured Whole. And the other album is by the band Memoriam, and it is called To the End. So before I begin, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And if you would like to skip ahead to either one of the reviews, you may do so by opening the video description and clicking on the timestamps in the chapter section. So the first album I'd like to review is the album Tortured Whole by Sanguisugabogg. Now this album was something I had no intention of either listening to or reviewing, but for some reason or another it just created so much buzz within the metal community when it came out, and I saw all these other review channels do reviews and a lot of people talking about it, so it kind of sparked my interest. Basically this band is a brutal death metal band, and it's also like a subgenre of this band they called like caveman death metal or something like that, and it's only because they don't have like solos or like lead guitar playing. Now the sound is just like very heavy. The band tunes their guitars to like a drop G, and it gives their guitars a very heavy sound. The overall sound to this band is similar to brutal death metal bands such as Dying Fetus or Cannibal Corpse. Upon first listen, I did like it more than I expected. I'm not a fan of brutal death metal, but I do like some of the deathcore bands like Impending Doom or Suicide Silence. And I did feel there was kind of a similarity to those bands, but the overall theme of this band is just gory, campy, like horror movies. They have a music video on YouTube for the song Menstrual Envy, and it was produced by Trauma Films. So I will link it in the video description. Now for those of you who don't know, Trauma, they were the movie company that made the Toxic Avenger movies. When I was a teenager, I was a really big fan of those movies, and you know, a few of the other ones. But that is really like the essence of this band and this album. The music video is just like a Trauma movie. So as for the music, the riffs are very heavy. The vocals are very like guttural. Most of the time you don't know what they're saying. It just sounds like, you know, sometimes they do these like long burps like, but you know, I enjoyed the album. It just kept me interesting. It was fun. The riffs were heavy, and sometimes they slowed down, sometimes they sped it up. There are these interludes that were like these like old like horror movie sound effects. And I'm just going to read some of the song titles. There's Gored in the Chest, Dragged by a Truck, Dead as Shit, and Dick Fillet. So that's basically what you're getting with this album. Even though it is very simple, it's heavy, it's not for everybody, but I enjoyed it, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The next album I'm going to talk about is To the End by the band Memoriam. Now when I first listened to this, I really didn't know anything about the band, so I just put it on, I started listening, and I really enjoyed it. Had a really cool old death metal sound. It was like very heavy and melodic, and I just enjoyed the entire album. So later I did some research on the band, and I watched a few of the reviews from the other channels. And basically this band is a continuation of the band Bolt Thrower. So Bolt Thrower is a British death metal band. They formed in 1986, and they were a band that wrote a lot of lyrics about war. So that was something I kind of liked, you know, something similar to like Iron Maiden as far as the lyrics, not the sound, but I like that aspect of it. And Bolt Thrower is also a band that has a death metal sound, but they're also leaning towards doom metal, you know, similar to Candlemass. And this album has their former singer Carl Willits and the bass player from a different band called Benediction. which is another British death metal band. The band was formed as a tribute to the bolt thrower drummer. His name was Martin Kearns, and he passed away at an early age. And the sound in general is very reminiscent of the old bolt thrower sound. The first song is called Onwards in Battle, and it starts off with some airplanes flying overhead. It really sets the mood for the entire album. Just starts off with some heavy riffs. I think this is a type of death metal that's kind of easier to listen to, a little more on the melodic side. It's not super fast. The tempos go from like medium to slow. Sometimes they get fast, but not always. The vocals are harsh, but they're not too harsh to the point where you can't decipher the lyrics. Another cool song is This War Is Won. And this is more of a traditional heavy death metal song with like the tremolo picking and the fast tempo. Another cool song is called No Effect. It starts off with some melodic guitar playing, and it reminded me of like some of the later albums by the band Death. Another great song is Failure to Comply. It starts off with like this authority figure speaking over a loudspeaker, telling people to disperse or get arrested. So it's mostly like protesters. Very similar to the last Body Count album and the song End the Game by Megadeth. Song has some very heavy riffs, and it's also kind of on like the thrash metal side. There's another song called Each Step, One Closer to the Grave. This one they like slow it down a lot, and this is a very like heavy, doomy song. Really nice change of pace. The album has 9 songs in general. It's a very solid album. I liked every song. I didn't feel the need to skip any songs. And this is probably the best death metal album that I've heard so far this year. It will be a contender for my top 5 list at the end of the year. I do various top 5 lists of different metal subgenres, and this year I will be including death metal. And I am almost sure that this album will make that list. So I give this a very enthusiastic 9 out of 10. It was a solid album. I listened to it many times and I enjoyed it every time I listened to it. So I highly recommend this album. And that is it. Comment below, what do you think of either of these albums? Have you listened to? Or would you like to recommend any other albums? Maybe I could do 2 or 3 albums in one video. I can do it that way. And please like, subscribe, comment. Tomorrow and Thursday I have some more anniversary albums, some classic album reviews. So check that up, and I will see you in the next one.